Thank you very much, Godlimpi, acting spokesperson, and the members of the media, ladies and gentlemen. This is the first ordinary NEC meeting after the 2024 national and provincial elections. A lot has transpired since the elections, with the ANC taking lead to the government of national unity, up to its mantra, which is to say the ANC lives, ANC leads. That the popular country will triumph over any obstacles. As it is now, ANC presented a statement of intent, which has since been the axis around which all the negotiations that ensued following the elections evolved. To us as the ANC, we remain committed to respecting the principles of democracy as underpinned by our constitution. There is no doubt that any material time, the constitution remains the most supreme platform for our democratic project. Since the elections, we have constituted and consolidated all the two arms of the state that are under direct impact of the elections, which is the executive and the legislature. All this been proof of the resilience of our democracy and the ANC's commitment to the Constitution. This National Executive Committee meeting will therefore take stock of all that, particularly our performance in the elections and the tasks on implementing the ANC's manifesto aimed at improving the life will be about we will therefore of the political situation in the country and what has transpired in the recent past, including the elections. That will be followed by an in-depth analysis, research, presentation, an analysis in depth about what happened in terms of the elections on the 29th of May. That discussion, that presentation will be followed by a discussion which is characterized as how do we understand and interpret the moment. It's a political perspective, because to us the GNU did not fall from the sky. Besides that, there are many options politically what has made the ANC to take the stance and the position that it has actually taken. So that perspective will be presented. Post that perspective, we'll then look at the national dialogue that is talked about. What is the national dialogue? What is the ANC view politically about the national dialogue, and what we want to achieve? We'll conclude with the National Working Committee report this evening. The National Working Committee report will give a report about the work that has been done by the National Working Committee and the reflection on the developments that have led to us constituting government and the legislatures. And then tomorrow, over a period of 2 days, Friday and Saturday, it will be discussions of the National Executive Committee, reflections and discussions on all the topics that I've related to you. On Sunday at 10 o'clock, we'll start a lekgotla, which will be attended by the deployees of the ANC in government, which will be attended by alliance partners and in government, not in government, alliance partners, COSATU, the Tripartite Alliance, the leagues, and the Mass Democratic Movement will attend the lekgotla. The lekgotla will start on Sunday up until Tuesday, will be concluded. We will then report to the lekgotla the work and the decisions of the National Executive Committee in the form of this perspective. How this moment is interpreted by the National Executive Committee. We'll then look at governance, what affect the people, how and what steps we are going to take, what steps have already been taken to do what we have said we want to do in the manifesto, the cost of living, job creation, and all of that, and the expenditure in terms of the budget, what are we going to do, and so on, in terms of a governance situation in the country. So we'll break into commissions on Monday and Tuesday and conclude our business on Tuesday. So that is our meeting. That will end on Tuesday. Thank you very much.
Okay, guys, that was the SG. I'm taking hands now. I see your hand. You will be the second, you will be the third, you will be the fourth, you will be the fifth. We start with you, Zuma.
Good day, Nkosinathi Shazi from Power FM News. SG, how will the ANC ensure that the GNU speaks in one voice and unison? I think that's the word. The reason why I'm asking is because the Deputy Minister of Sports, Arts and Culture, uPhismali, when the Olympics started, she called for Israel to be banned from the games. And then fast forward to the Minister of Sports, Arts and Culture, who belongs to the Patriotic Alliance. Gayton McKenzie said she should not have issued that statement. He is the face of the department, and that any voice of the department should be approved by him. We also have a situation where the ANC's GNU member, EDA, is taking Ramaphosa to court over the May 26th address, the NHI bill. So how's the ANC going to ensure that GNU speaks in one voice?
Good morning, Shannon Marix from Kasi Broadcasting. My question to the SG, as a former ANC Youth League president, you have signed to expel, ultimately as the SG, you have signed to expel former President Jacob Zuma, the former president of the country.
What is the radio?
Kasi Broadcasting.
Kasi, okay.
Yeah,
sorry about it.
Okay, as a former president of the ANC Youth League, you as the SG now has signed the final dot to expel a former president of a country, a former president of the ANC. How do you feel? Are you feeling you are using your power outside the constitution? Are you feeling it's personal, or are you just acting in terms of the ANC constitution? Second question, the GNU, Helen Zeller took out, she attended a function, she said there's no GNU. It's a collision, a grand collision between the ANC and the DA. All other parties are just passengers in the taxi. The last point is, on Sunday, will the MK as alliance, I don't know which MK, because I don't know politics, the former MK, the new, will they be present at the meeting on Sunday when the alliance come to this meeting? Thank you.
Hawala Maolewa from UFM. He actually took my question on the GNU, but just to amplify, don't you perhaps feel patronized that Zere does what she does? You are consistently saying this is a GNU, and she's suggesting that you actually just lifted the weight from somewhere in order to not make it look as obvious as it is what she calls it, the coalition government with the DA. And also, within the operatives of the GNU, there was a media house that ran a story suggesting that some of your members have expressed a sense of frustration at being outsmarted or outshined by their DA colleagues in cabinet. I've already heard that the ANC said such did not take place, but I'm asking for myself. Are your members so far happy working with, in particular, their DA counterparts who are issuing statements saying DA minister says what? You would have seen situations where they are announcing things that are based on decisions taken by the 6th administration, but which they are now owning as their achievements.
You've answered them already, okay.
Lizega Kandwa, Sunday Times. Mr. Mbalula, you speak of national dialogue, that you will have conversations around that. As it stands, you don't have an agreement, a signed agreement with these political parties that you've joined into a GNU. When will that happen? Do you have timeframes as to when exactly will you have signed agreements? And there's also the deadlock mechanisms. So I heard you speaking about it, but I came at the tail end of it. But in terms of the deadlock mechanisms, I ask this in light of what my colleagues have said around the NHI bill, Bella, and so forth, and the different ideological or political standings that you have with the DA, the clashes with the DA in terms of policy. When exactly do you imagine that you will have those two particular decisions made and signed? And just in terms of historically, the tradition of the ANC has been that you will have an NEC Meeting before a cabinet meeting. What informs you having it after? I'm just trying to see what is the purpose of this meeting, and because your NEC meeting informs the government meeting. What do you plan to achieve with this one, given that cabinet has already had its meeting? Also, I mean, there's an issue that has kind of dominated debate, and it's around the Miss Africa pageant. And it's not minuscule, given our history, especially with Nigeria. The president at some point even had to go to West Africa, where he had conversations with Nigeria. Nigeria did actually even say to the president that they were concerned about xenophobia in South Africa. And when you have a minister in cabinet, in an ANC-led cabinet, speaking in such, having such statements about a person who is South African, who has a mother who's South African, and the father comes from Nigeria, and I wonder what the ANC says about these statements that have been made by the Minister of Sports, Arts and Culture, and what is your standing around this Chizima situation?
Thank you so much. My name is Lunga Zuma from the Melon Guardian. For me, SG, it's just the issue of the SACP. I mean, the SACP is your alliance partner, and they've come out. The SACP has come out to say that joining the GNU with the DA was a bad idea, and this is your alliance partner. It seems to me that the SACP is not in line with the issue of the GNU or working with the DA, as they call them, the enemy. That's how they call them. So and also another topical issue. The deputy chairperson in Limpopo has been named with that affidavit that she was part of those who benefited from the VPS issue. Considering that you are talking about renewal, and the marching line of the ANC seems to be the issue of renewal, I know, of course, she's not in charge, so the step aside thing would not apply to her. The face. Issue of VPs. Thank you so much. Money on the
So he says he gave.
I'm not. Yeah, that's basically.
500,000.
Oh,
Wanted 500,000.
okay. You don't know if now why you squeal. In a meeting.
Last week you spoke about some within the ANC trying to contest for positions, and you said that they're focusing on the wrong things. Is this part of is this an opportunity, this NEC, is it an opportunity basically to that issue once and for all? Thank you.
To answer service delivery. What government is of the people first is to deliver, and that's how as we meet here, and we'll meet again on Sundays to consolidate that work. We are not discussing their DA ministers of the National Democratic as a party with 40%, 6 million people. When we leave this expression in government, and that is it. We are a leading party. We are the largest party. We are the biggest expression of the will of the people. We are not going to be engaged in polemics with Helen Zille and whoever wishes to do so. If they want to engage in that terrain, they can go on their own, but Assisi, we are not coming to engage in polemics and about who leads, who doesn't lead. The question is, can the ANC do better with the 40% and the leadership it has had in terms of safeguarding power and leading the people of South Africa and doing the right thing? The country is stable, that is the reality. Everything is on track, government is running. That's what is important for us. The reason we are meeting here is to ensure that we consolidate that power and we deepen the National Democratic Revolution. What is the National Democratic Revolution? It is redress, to continue that work within government and deliver for the people of South Africa. And that's what our government is going to do. You ask about NHI, you ask about Bella Bill. We want those things to happen and to happen as they've been signed into law. There are challenges. It wouldn't have stopped even if there was no JNU. DA and others wouldn't have stopped. And they are not going to stop. And stop being irritated by Zille every time he says he wants to see the ANC dead. That is his job. That is a job. And the DA, like all others who want to see the ANC gone, they say they eat the elephant piece by piece. But the elephant is not out, still standing. And the ANC will go down if it entertains the irritation and doesn't do what is right. And that is what is important for us. So GNU will speak in one voice in relation to government programs. There are protocols in government that ministers don't just pronounce policy and speak out of turn without processing matters. You can express your wish every day, but as long as it is not government policy, it will not be implemented. And that's what is important. This government is about redress. It's about transformation. So the deputy minister espouses a position in relation to Israel. That is government position. There's nothing wrong with that. We know that Gayton has got a position in terms of his patriotic alliance. He supports Israel. So it's not something new. So he's got to say, I'm not consulted about that. But the fundamental question is, what is government policy? Is that we are in solidarity with the Palestinian people and we recognize the Israeli state as an apartheid state. And we want this to stop. And that's what is important. And the fact that they won't see eye to eye in relation to the sport boycott, because Gayton as a minister represent a position that defends Israel, is to be expected. Nothing has changed, and it will not have changed if ever Gayton was not part of government. Anyway, he will continue to express his particular view. DA taking ANC to court over NHI, I've answered that question. They will. They are not going to stop in anything. The DA says they don't want deployment, and they practice it. And then they do all sorts of things, but they don't call it deployment, like us. So we're in court with them around those particular issues. So like I've explained before, and we're still explaining now, GNU is not a melting pot of political parties ceasing to be who they are and what they represent. The contradictions will be there, as they would have been even within the broader situation of a government led by the ANC, wholly, overwhelmingly. Our majority has been affected. So we will not maneuver and do things like we used to do before. The opposition will try to get to us in whatever way they can to try their luck. But we know that we hold the sway in terms of as the largest party within the government of national unity. There's nothing that can happen without us in this government that we lead of national unity going forward. Kasi broadcast. Zuma has been expelled not by the SG but by the disciplinary committee of the ANC. The job of the SG in terms of the ANC constitution is to announce the decision. I announced the decision of Magashule, I've announced of Jacob Zuma. If he wants to appeal that, he can do it within 21 days. It's a decision. Not even this NEC will object or reject. They've got no local standing. The matter is closed. Zuma is expelled. He's not a member of the ANC. As we speak, we have moved from suspension to expulsion, and we have followed every step in terms of guided by our constitution. If you want to challenge that, he can. If you want to appeal it, it's within his right. But he's not our member, and we're not going to repeat ourselves about it. It's done. He can lead what he leads at the present moment, which today, by the way, we are challenging it in court. It's our trademark. We'll challenge it till the end. We're in court appealing that decision, erroneous decision of that judge who even ran away from reading the judgment and gave it to the clerk of the court to read it, and so on. We're challenging that decision because in terms of the trademark law in this country, we've got grounds to challenge that, and we're going for it as we speak now in Durban. Helen Zille, not GNU, a grand coalition. He wanted a grand coalition. She wanted a grand coalition. She came and the DA to the negotiations that we must not talk to the EFF, we must not talk to Zuma party, and all of these other people, PA and so on. We said no. We have signed a statement of intent with 10 political parties, including the DA. So what is she talking about? So we're not going to entertain Helen and what she is dreaming about and what she wants. We've got the responsibility, ourselves and the DA, to govern. And we will tell by actions and the work that we do who has actually won the hearts and minds of South Africans going forward. As the ANC, we are not interested in polemics. We are interested in governing the country and governing very well. We need stability for South Africa, and that's what is important. DA is part of the GNU, and we're moving forward nicely going forward. And that's what is important for us. Will MK, yes, MK war veterans are part of the ANC. They will be part of the Lekgotla. They are invited. They are still there. Also, they've got their issues that we need government to address. Those issues will be addressed here. That's what is important for us, to address the welfare of our former combatants. It's important, so that we don't confuse issues. And we need to move in regard to that with speed. And then you asked the question about coalition with the ANC and all of that. We don't have a coalition, a grand coalition that is called the DA and the ANC in terms of definition. I think as journalists you are educated. You know what is a grand coalition. So does this look like a grand coalition? It's not. A grand coalition is a coming together of one or two political parties to form government. That's not what has happened here. You've got more than one political party that has formed government. It is the ANC that is leading. It is the DA. It is the IFP. It is GOOD. It is the PA, of which we're talking about Gayton now. It is the PAC in government. It is UDM in government. It's Al-Jama in government. What is that in political definition of models of government? Is that not a multi-party GNU? Is that an ANC-DA arrangement? There's no such. You can argue that the ANC leads and the DA has got the biggest share, but it is not a grand coalition. Okay? It is a GNU with elements of supply and confidence, minority government, right? There are political parties who have signed, like Rise Mzansi, the statement of intent and endorsed the GNU, but they are not in government. They said, we don't want to be in government. We want to be in the legislature. Songezo is chairing Scopa there, chasing everyone who's in government to account. Very strategic position, tactical, that they've taken as a party. So you do have parties like that. UAT, once they didn't get anything, they left with their afro. So I'm gone. So so they are gone. So you can be off tangent and argue what Helen is arguing and what he's saying, and I think it's a diversion, and we're not getting into that terrain. Somebody sent me what Helen Zille said. He's a leader of the DA. It can't be because it's part of the DA you expect Helen Zille to change overnight and mimic the ANC. She can't. We are not allies. We are not allies. DA will come in this government and want to undo all the progressive gains we have achieved in terms of the National Democratic Revolution. And we will not agree with them. We'll stop them. We don't agree with them when they say Bella Bill must not be signed, NHI must go out of the window, and then their perspective in terms of worker rights in relation to where we stand is horrible. It's not about progress and all of that and transformation of this country. We are opposed to that. Period. And then they will still take us to court like they used to in the previous administrations and all of that. So we are ready for that. let's not argue about who outsmarted who, because it's not in the interest of the people of South Africa in terms of cabinet and all of that. That's not important, because once we go down that route, we are now changing from matured politics to competition. The fact of the matter is that political parties have come together, formed government, and then we are leading the country. There is stability. Political parties have committed themselves to foundational principles of this government of national unity. And what are those foundational principles? Is constitutional democracy and the rule of law. Is redress. Is economic growth and creating jobs for our people. And that's what we want, is deepening democracy in terms of non-racialism, and also fight for gender parity. And these are the things that South Africans want out of us, to ensure that we fight crime, government works with communities in the fight against crime, and so on. So that is what it's important for us, and so on. Ministers announcing matters of sixth administration. You have answered that question yourself, that they have indeed, when you come into government, the first day you announce the budget of the sixth administration, and then you are savvy in terms of communications and PR. You claim that is what Amilcar Cabral calls claiming easy victories and tell no lies. So we're not interested in that. The fact of the matter is that the only change, if it has to be effected, will come in terms of new APPs in the next cycle of government, MTBBS, which is coming now. And then what is going to go into that planning, that government is going to get into. That is what will shape the thinking of the new ministers in the new administration. So you know how government works. You cannot come into government today with your ideas and think you will implement them. It doesn't work like that. You implement the APP. Even if the ANC was out of power, all the things that would have been announced now in terms of the budget are of the sixth administration. So the seventh administration budget is still coming. So the ANC is still in power, and ANC leads in the GNU. Not that there will be no innovation and new ideas that are going to come. They are going to come in the ministries that other members of the GNU control and are part of in terms of government. Lizeka, signing of agreements, we are coming to that. We have not reached that stage. We are done now with government, legislatures, and all of that. I was having a discussion with Helen yesterday, and we are having a meeting again on Wednesday to discuss the national dialogue, also with all other political parties. This meeting of ours is also going to discuss national dialogue, ANC perspective. The national dialogue is about the coming together of South Africans. There will be others who think that it is not important, they won't come to eat and all of that. But South Africans have embraced this national dialogue, and which must be led by government and everybody coming to the party. And that is what is important. In this country, before some of you were born, we had what was called Conference for Democratic Future. It was held at Wits University. And then we discussed the Harare Declaration, and we also discussed the constitutional guidelines. I remember Azapo and others walking away from that discussion of the CDF. And then we had big arguments about the Harare Declaration, the constitutional guidelines, and so on. The ANC said, this is how we want South Africa to look like. And we put it there. And we're led there by the United Democratic Front. So it is something of that nature. But it was leading us to a South Africa we want and a government that is coming. Today, the national dialogue is about consolidating democracy, nation building, and working together for the interest of the people of South Africa. And what we mean by that is what this national dialogue must actually unpack. Civil society organizations, Abafundisi, South African Council of Churches, they too support this. Former presidents President Mbeki, different foundations have also pronounced on this. So government as the main sponsor must lead, but it's not a government baby. It is a civil society, South African thing that must be about how do we take South Africa and defend democracy going forward. So the national dialogue in that sense is actually coming. And then deadlock breaking mechanisms, we have agreed in the statement of intent how we will address those issues. And then we must then characterize what defines a deadlock and what are the issues. And then we said there must be a clearinghouse so that we don't talk past each other, but we are not the same. Normally when you are in a coalition or you are in a JNU like what we have, where do you bury your differences in order to ensure that there is stability and government does not cease to operate? For instance, if you take example of coalitions that we have in the metros, there is no clearinghouse there. If we differ, we go and work with others behind the back of others and topple the mayor with a vote of no confidence and have a new government. So for us, we need clarity on the issue of the agreements and also the clearinghouse in terms of when there are differences among us, how do we attend and address those particular issues going forward. So Lizeka, that is coming, is the next phase of our discussion as the political parties in the GNU going forward. After the Lekgotla, what do we plan to achieve? Okay, it's not after the Lekgotla. Why did we have? We were very clear that the first meeting and that took place was about the program of action of government and the statement of intent. And that's what the meeting did. President went to cabinet, opening of parliament. What did he do there? Was to affirm 6 priorities and then was to talk to the statement of intent, which in the context of the MTPBS in government will still meet. So that meeting of 2 days in itself was not even a Lekgotla, was the first bigger meeting of cabinet where government was looking at the statement of intent and the program of government. So that is going now to be implemented. So this meeting of the ANC is going to inform that Lekgotla of government in terms of the input going forward. But we are very happy, even in this Lekgotla, we'll get a report about what the first meeting have done, if the comrades executed the mandate. I can tell you, even before I get into discussion, they have done so with distinction, such that they've called, even those who claim that ANC is selling out, does Ramaphosa's statement look like, as a president of the country, look like a sellout statement? Don't judge the book by its cover, the content. Read. What does that statement say? It says, "Aluta continua." The struggle continues. There is no retreat from that opening parliamentary address of the president. There is no retreat there. So, insurrectionary phrase mongering, sell out, this and that, is just something that is uttered in vain. Slogans for those who have run out of ideas and they don't know what they actually stand for. Tina siyaquba. There is no retreat. The struggle continues. And that is what the ANC is about, and that is what the importance of this meeting. So, Lizeka, I hope I've answered your question. ANC on Chidima. ANC stands. It is said that Chidima is a South African. She's born of the parents of South Africa, right? What? The mother?
Yes.
The mother is South African. Educate me. And the father?
He's a foreign national.
The father is a foreign national. Okay, we must apply our laws in relation to that. We must be guided by the law. She's a naturalized, or she was born here in South Africa with a Nigerian father and a mother from South Africa. She was born in our country. So what is our law saying in relation to that? So we must be guided by the law in relation to that. Let's not have a debate, unending debate around that particular issue. Because we will go off tangent and polarize South Africa and society at large. You know the issue of foreigners in our country, what it has done because of the criminal behavior of some foreigners in South Africa. So it's a sensitive issue, and it must be clarified, and so on. And we need to deal with that particular issue, guided by the laws of our own country. That is what is important. We must not be populist. We must be guided by the laws of South Africa and clarify the matter once and for all. It is very strange in this debate. You are asking us a question. The organizers of this are quiet, and then they've allowed this girl to go, to be out there and attacked and all of that. The organizers are not saying anything. Government, Schreiber, Home Affairs, he must clarify this issue. DA, Minister. The minister must clarify this particular issue so that you don't allow victimization. I've seen comparisons that have been made, Vanessa Carrera, Portuguese, and all of that, and so on. I've seen that in the public domain. So those issues need to be clarified. But this matter brings into sharp question about immigration laws, and at the same time, where does it place us? And is she entitled to participate? I think South Africans are more, Nigerians are forward. They are going to say we have a Miss South Africa in South Africa. I mean, we argue with them about Amapiano. They now say Amapiano is theirs. And when they came with a good genre, Afro-pop. Nigeria was leading us, hitting us nicely. We enjoyed, we're even dancing to this, Dibanj and them. And then when it came our turn, Amapiano, Nigerians are claiming Amapiano. And then the economy, Nigeria is number one economy in Africa. We overtake them, they keep quiet. So South Africa is number one economy. So this competition that goes on between South Africa and Nigeria. So we need to clarify that issue from the perspective of the laws of this country, and so that we don't allow Chidima to be victimized in the manner in which she may feel at the end that she's left out there to dry. So the organizers and government must clarify that particular issue. So we'll keep an eye on that, and also ourselves, we need to provide a voice in relation to that, which is important. Elunga joining GNU with the DA. Okay. Look, it's a discussion. We will have that discussion here in the Lekgotla and even in the Political Council. But we have passed there now. We have a government that is led by the ANC. That's what is important for us. So I don't see what is a difference between the EFF, DA, and all of them. They are not our allies. But let me explain one thing. EFF and the Zuma party rejected the GNU. And when we agreed on the statement of intent, they did not agree to that. So what should we do? We wait for them and their perspective, we incorporate them and all of that. That's not how it should be. Okay? The EFF said they want to remove the ANC surgically out of power. And they will work with the DA and the Freedom Front Plus and everybody else to remove the ANC. Julius Malema, the president of the EFF, aka CIC, he's the first to talk about the GNU. Malema said, we want the GNU in South Africa to remove the ANC. Be careful about what we wish for. We have a GNU with the ANC as a leader, not ANC removed. He was advocating for a GNU with everybody, long before we even entered the election. You can go to the records, he's there saying that. He's there saying that. Exactly what I'm saying. So today he says in his rally, ANC is a sellout. Now, when they give him this nickname, that is a flip-flopper, it is exactly around issues like that. It's not consistent. He said South Africa needs a GNU, but a GNU to remove the ANC. Didn't happen. There is a GNU in this country with the ANC in the driving seat. Deputy President of EFF, Floyd Shivambu, says the ANC is a dying party. I see even Helen Zille shares the perspective. We are a dying party. Helen Zille says that, but not exactly verbatim like Floyd. Floyd says, you are better off to die in our hands than to die with others. So we then said, okay, if you say that, then here is our perspective. Come to the GNU. He said, no. It must be our marriage. So we opposed the marriage and we went for a government of national unity. Not exactly 1994, which was in the transitional constitution. This one is not. You are there willingly participating and signing the statement of intent. Even if you leave tomorrow, the government of national unity will simply shift from maybe a GNU and with characteristics of supply and confidence and change into a minority government. That's what will happen. But government won't collapse. This is not like local government. Remember, all political parties in Floyd's wish coming together to surgically remove the ANC, they cannot. With our 40%. It's not possible. So we are not negotiating with people with a cap in the hand. That's the No, no Zila Simnenge. If she wants to leave the GNU, she can leave. But we invited everybody to work together. And they have agreed and we are working together. So let's not go up and down and fool South Africans about things that are non-existent. The fact of the matter is that nobody got outright majority. The people said, go sit down and form government. We have done that. So why should we argue about that? Let's work for the people. But it doesn't mean that you suppress your political identity and what you actually represent. Jacob Zuma. We have never met with Zuma except in the DC through Tony Yengeni since the election. So we don't know what he stands for. Through his appointed representatives. He opposed the elections. He was defeated in the Constitutional Court. He was not there in the first sitting of Parliament. Now, you say we must work with Zuma. What does Zuma stand for? When he gets into government, he replaced even people who were, when he gets into the legislature, he even replaced people who worked for the party. The Zuma party, like Khumalo. Replace them with Klopp. People who never did the door-to-door. He went, so it's a coming together of friends of Zuma. You know that organization that was called Friends of Jacob Zuma. This so-called MK party is Friends of Jacob Zuma. He went and fetched his friend Klopp, made him a leader there in Parliament. He made ridiculous individual demands. The man is out of depth. He says that we stopped oil supply in South Africa and that the oil from Iran is cheap. Mondli finish him with one sentence. Judge, where did you get what you are talking about? You know, as a judge, it is wrong to verbose fabrication. Now that you are not in the bench, it doesn't give you license in the legislature to say things that are unresearched and unprocessed. The first person who stopped supply and exchange of oil trade between South Africa and Iran was Jacob Zuma's administration, and Zuma as a leader. But they wanted to snipe at Syria, that is anti-East and is pro-West. The tired verbosity that they spew all the time about our president, which I think it's a fabrication that has worn out, and the South Africans will see for what it is. So, when you say we must work with Zuma, what do you mean? We don't know what Zuma wants. He said he wants to rescue the ANC. He has not come to the ANC and tell us, now I've got this percentage, how do I want to rescue with this percentage? He has never written to the ANC and said, Bendingani wis, here are my demands. He has not done that. If you know Nislevele Gututinu Zuma, we don't know. He said he's rescuing the ANC and he's fighting for his membership of the ANC. And then he said the ANC, overnight, the ANC in his head changed and became a property of Ramaphosa. The ANC is not Ramaphosa's ANC. When he was a leader of the ANC with all the challenges that he faced, ANC never changed to become Zuma's ANC. ANC never changed to become Beki's ANC. ANC never changed to become Mandela's ANC. ANC rather was led by Mandela, by Mbeki, by Zuma, by Ramaphosa today. That's what the ANC is. ANC will never change. Leadership change, but ANC never change. Leadership come and go, but the ANC stays. And each leader have got his own contribution. We can analyze what Mandela did, what happened during his era, what happened during Mbeki, what he did, and what happened during his era, and all of that. But the African National Congress have never ceased to be what it is. A liberation movement for the liberation of Africans in particular and black people in general. That's what the ANC has always been, and it will always be. And then Limpopo. Let me tell you this. This NEC, we are putting a proposal in the NWC report. We are going to convene an integrity special meeting. Remember, there are integrity issues that are outstanding. There are people who get arrested from time to time with minor crimes. The other one, driver's license and so on. And people want those people to be on the step aside. Zizi's issue was a big debate. Why was Zizi in Parliament in the first place? Because he was charged. We explained the step aside rule. So we are convening a special NEC meeting. The Integrity Commission terms of reference will be adopted. All outstanding cases, Lunga, will be adopted. Now, the ANC have said, and it's still an ANC resolution, that if the ANC got money from VBS, that money must be returned. You get what I mean? Including the claims that there was money that was given to Zweli Mkhize. He has given us a report on that matter. And then if the money has gone into the coffers, there is a decision of the NEC that let's return the money of VBS. If individuals are affected by VBS and they are going to be subjected to criminal charges, they must be charged without fear or favor. They must be charged. We can only pronounce on Florence matter if ever she is charged in terms of criminality. As the affidavit says now, there are claims that she got 500,000 out of it. And she has denied that in the past. That is why I've explained this. Now, I can't deal with that matter from here. We are processing the issues. We have done that. We have pronounced on the matter of VBS that everyone affected by VBS arrested, step aside. All those who are arrested today, Denim Caesar, everybody, Matsipe, and all of them, they are on step aside. The reason why Florence is not arrested is because, Florence is not on a step aside is because there's never been an arrest as a result of VPS on her. Now, all these reports will come to that special NEC meeting about VPS, and we deal with the matters. Junior, the last issue you asked about leadership issues, and that is the last question. We are saying we must not be diverted, and that we come from a terrible, horrible, disastrous election campaign that gave us 40%, and the first thing that we think about is who becomes the leader after President Ramaphosa. Can't be. That discussion, we are going to suppress it to the moon and back till it happens at the right time. Not that it shouldn't happen. We are not going to entertain it. We know that there are people who are whispering. We find them. We are going to suppress it. You will have never seen suppression in your life in the ANC. You are going to see that. It's not important now. ANC is 1 foot in, 1 foot out. Our preoccupation cannot be who becomes the next leader. The next conference is 2027. In 2024, you lose elections. You are on the verge of losing elections. The biggest preoccupation is who becomes a leader. And you journalists, you are not to be blamed, but you know when you plant the seed. Yeah, and those who want to lead are coming to you at night. And then they tell you their interest. Yeah, they come through gossip. Yeah, bafike ebusuku. Nina niyabhala nje because it's a nice headline. Yeah, exactly. Fikile Mbalula 2027. Andoyiki uphatha mna. And futhi andoyiki uphathwa. Both ways. Andoyiki uphatha, andoyiki uphatha. Ndiphethe ngoku. Lo mcimbi ndiwuphetheyo wobu-SG mkhulu kakubi. Ungadelelwa ndim nje qha. Mna ngokwam, I can undermine this work that ANC members have given me. And I'm going to work on this, including after the terrible and the calamity that have visited us. What will happen in 2027? What members of the ANC want, they will pronounce. But we are not going to turn the ANC program of action to become 2024. I am being removed. Kulungiselelwa into ezayo. People are doing as they wish because they want to blackmail leadership. That because of the next conference, that's why we are being dealt with. We are going to suppress them. We are going to suppress them heavily. And we are not going to allow political opportunism to reign in the ANC. We are going to drive this organization, revive our structures and branches. Those who wanted to leave have left, and others are already on their way back from the other party because they did not get what they want. But the people who were paying in this organization who wanted to leave have left. So we've got an opportunity to build the organization, intensify renewal, and build organization. So, Junior, it doesn't mean that there are no people who are whispering about 2027, but it cannot be the preoccupation. And members of the ANC must know that. It cannot be our preoccupation, like as if this issue is the utmost important strategic question in our lives. It's not. It's not. Abantu mabazibambe. Yeah, people must hold back and give a chance for the ANC to regroup and build a strong organization. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, guys. See you when we come back. I will tell you when I'm coming back.